धन्यवाद।
हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम महाराज।
महाराज।
धन्यवाद महाराज।
हरि बोल महाराज। Happy to see you. धन्यवाद प्रभु के साथ तुम देवी प्रभु।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु।
धन्यवाद प्रभु देवी, धन्यवाद साई आनंद जी, आनंदिती दीदी,
धन्यवाद
लक्ष्मी, भागवती, प्रियदर्शनी दीदी, धन्यवाद, धन्यवाद शरण कृष्ण प्रभु।
धन्यवाद
धन्यवाद कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
Akashvani, huh? No face.
Why is it not working?
Shivani, the name is dog Haryananda.
Lashmi.
Oh, Lakshmi.
Vandana. Vandeham.
Shri Guru Shri Guru
Namo
Namo Gaurakishwaraya
Murtaye Gaurangri Pramapitaya
Radha Baba Nikevane
Bhakti
Gaura Shakti Swarupatam
Bhakti
Krishna
Samraya
Rasa
Rasa Shubhanidhi Gaura Prajapita Sheshai
Vaishnava
Vaishnava
Srimad Vande
Vigraham
Vigraham
Jagannatha
Jagannatha
Prabhu
Prabhu
Premani Vira
Vira
Vaisnavam
Vaishnavam
Panchakarmacha
Kripa
Sindhumayeva Vasha
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnaveyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namaha
Namaha
Panchatatmaka
Panchatatmakam
Krishna
Krishna
Bhaktarupa
Bhaktaruparupam
Bhaktavataram
Bhaktavataram
Namami Vadyachaktikam
Namo
Mahavadanya
Krishna
Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namyo Vishne Namaha
Jaya
Surauta Bhavo
Mahamati Gati Satsarasva Parabhaya Shadamadaya
Mohanam
Divya
Padrumadaya Gandharva Kilagovidadev Parami
Sriman
Sriman Rasa Samvi
Sivatadava
Tataha
Kasandeno
Sarvena
Bhakti
Saine
Gauri
Gopir
Gopina
Namaha
Riyetuna
Vrindaya
Jai Tulasi
Jai
Jai Jai Keshavaya Sha Krishna
Krishna
Bhakti
Bhakti
Radhe Devi
Devi
Satyavata
Devate Namo Namaha
Atanatva
Amala Gurun
Bhagavata
Gurun Bhagavata Sadam Satya Jagat Guru Nama Jaya
Jaya
Saparika
Saparikara Sri Sri Guru
Gauranga
Varangarama Gopita
Gandharva
Sudasa
Govinda Sundar
Paramamaya
Pada Padmanam Jestu
Sri Krishna
Krishna Chaitanya
Kanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda Sri Advaita
Gadadara
Gadadara
Srivasadi
Vasadi
Gauravarita
Gauravataranda
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare
Rama
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 Hare
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 Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Santa Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai Jai
Jai Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai,
Amabeda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai,
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Jai.
Oh, glories to the
Jai.
devotees.
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari.
Hari Om
Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai. Sri Sadashiva Gangarju ki.
Jai Jai
Was that Lakshmi saying Jai?
Again.
We're reading Prabhupada Jivanamrita, the remnants of some writings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astu Tata Sata Sri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Sri Sri Prabhupada Jivanamrita Ki Jai.
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 We were reading the Bhaktivinoda Thakur Rahadasika. Rahadasika means the separation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. 10 verses, and we stopped on the 4th verse. So today we'll begin with the 5th verse. As the universally cooling moon, and beautified by diffusing its nectarian rays, nourishing the plants and inciting the twinkling of the stars, your holy advent in this world is similarly ascertained as satisfying the pure devotional scriptures through profound study and blessing the learned with full-blown happiness by the perfect axiomatic conclusions, descending in divine succession with your appearance, the ecstasy of devotees knows no bounds. Very importantly, Sridhar Maharaj is giving the Siddhanta here, Gaudiya, very important element of our Siddhanta, Vaishnava Siddhanta, Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. Dandavat Leela Purushottam Prabhu.
Dhanyavad Paramas Prabhu Maharaj.
Giving a very important element here, principle of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. Explaining that the Lord's appearance, just like the moon's appearance displays its rays, his moonlight and moonbeams, moonlight rays throughout the universe, nurturing the plants and other things, and even assisting the stars, as he says here, their twinkling. So in the same way, Krishna's advent in this world is nourishing the living entities, the devotees of the Lord especially. And that manifestation of the Lord, one of the manifestations of the Lord, one of those rays that come out, revealing the Lord's existence or presence, is the scripture. But he's not saying here the scripture as books itself. The scriptures represent what? They represent revealed knowledge. They are not the accumulation of knowledge of conditioned souls, but is the recorded knowledge of the revelation that comes down from the Lord to the devotees. And he makes this clear that the coming down from the Lord and not something that drops down from up above to us, but it comes down through the disciplic succession of teachers. This is what he means coming down to us, or revealed to us. And not revealed like when you open your eye and you see something, see an object, and you know that object just by looking at it. No, you don't know that actually when we analyze what is that object more deeply than the empiricists can imagine or can think. That object will reveal something more than just its immediate appearance. The object, when it's studied very carefully, will reveal that it is produced by something. And that production is part of the product. You can't say the product is itself Well, you can't understand the product itself if you don't understand the production that went into producing it, that process that went in producing it, and not a clear conception of the object. Aristotle knew this very well. And so he explained that to understand a thing properly, you have to know where it comes from. It's what he called the formal cause. So everything in this world appears immediately, but it has a production. It's like a tree or, let's say, a plant. A plant doesn't just appear there in the world. To us, we look at it and say, oh, there's a plant. But to those who understand, the plant isn't some immediate thing, but you have to plant a seed, and it develops gradually. It became a plant. So in this world, things are like that. When you see a person, you think, oh, there's this person, there's that person. But you don't see the fact that they had to go through a development called embryologic development to become who they are. And not only that, but they had to go through a certain education and so forth and so on to become that person. So they're not just an object, an immediate object. If we try to understand things like that, then we are missing a very important part of what they are. In the same way, the scripture, people can read the scripture and give so many interpretations or representations of what's in the scripture, repeat, as if they understood that whole development, the revelation through which those words of the scripture came to be. And it's called the scholarly interpretation of the scriptures. They can collect so much information from the scriptures and totally miss the idea of its developmental form, a developmental process before it appeared in those words. These scholars, they don't bother to go to Guru and live under the discipline and training and guidance and nourishment of Guru. They read and they think they know immediately, and they don't go through the process. And yet the writings of the great saints, the Goswamis and so forth, we know from reading Chaitanya Charitamrita and through the instructions of our Guru Maharaj that there is a process concerned, a process that they went through. That process that they went through is not told or not revealed in that writing. They may write a book, but they don't give you the whole development of their own self to reach those conclusions of the book. But they had to go through a development first. And when a scholar reads their writings, they don't really read the development they went through, and they think just by picking up those results, they become great knowers of the truth. No, not possible like that. This is the difference between a scholar and a bhakta. Scholars can show so much knowledge, be very erudite in what they know, but they do not realize that is only the superficial part. What they read is superficial, actually. No matter how profound it is, that profundity is only appreciated by one who has himself gone through that process of understanding where that revelation and how that revelation comes by the grace of Guru. Because Guru is the one who is training us, making us qualified to be able to understand those things, those higher things. And without that, one is only being, arrogant, egotistical to think that they know just by reading everything that the great saints know. missing entirely how they came to knowledge. That wonderful, exuberant, enlightening, and ecstatic knowledge. They miss that part. And so it becomes merely a superficial show and actually very dry for the devotee just reading so many facts about bhakti or whatever. That's not bhakti. That doesn't inspire devotion. It inspires, oh, what a great scholar this person is. He got so many different points from so many different sources, and he's put them all down together in some giant compendium of different scriptures and so forth and so on, and even an encyclopedic version. But he doesn't show anything about, doesn't show the qualifications, doesn't understand how they became qualified to write those things. Those things are not to be known or understood simply by unqualified readers, superficial readers of the scriptures.
You also tell Maharaj about Brahman. Told.
Descending, descending in divine succession. Descending in divine, very important. Everything is occurring through a development. Whatever we see in the world has been developed to be what it is. Goes through a developmental process. One devotee I know called it the Bija process. He said this world is based upon a Bij principle. You know what Bija is? Bij means the seed. Begins with a seed. Bij. Bhakti Latta Bij. Bhakti begins with a bij, with a seed. It doesn't come full blown all at once. It has to be developed. That's bhakti. Not that, oh yes, some of bhakti because I read Bhagavad Gita, I read this thing, I read that thing. No, that is not proper understanding. I have made one conclusion in my own study of things that what is the significance of guru? And I understand it to mean that the difference between certainty and truth. Certainty comes from knowing. When we know something, we are certain of it. But knowing is a finite thing. And knowing is based upon so many things, limited things. Just like I said, we think we can know an object just by looking at it, or by being familiar with it, or by reading it and putting it in our memory. And we say that I know this, I know that. That's called certainty. But there's a difference between certainty and truth. What is the truth of the thing and what is your certainty of the thing? These are two different things. I don't know in Spanish how you make that distinction, what the words are. But guru is necessary to help us distinguish between certainty and truth. My understanding. If we go around in the world thinking I know, you may not know so many things, but are those things true? That cannot be established simply by the immediate knowing of things. So many people know so many things, and they're all conflicting with one another. And how can that be truth? So the process of Gurudev, of approaching Guru, surrendering to Guru, serving Guru, is the means for becoming qualified to understand the higher truths. And that is the blessing of Guru and Krishna, to reach that higher stage of things, beyond certainty. We are finite. We are finite, infinitesimal beings. Then how much can we know? Our knowing is also finite. It's coming from us. Knowing comes from us. We may know something that has been revealed by the infinite, but that knowing, because it's coming from us, is finite also, and not sufficient that the infinite should tell us something and we know it immediately like that. No, we will not understand properly without having been qualified through the process of purification and elevation by hearing from Guru and surrendering. His whole book is about surrendering. Surrendering to Guru means serving. Surrender means to serve. To serve Guru, serve the will of Guru, try to please Gurudev and Vaishnavas by our actions, mental, physical, whatever way we can, and especially with our hearts. It's the only way that we can actually become qualified. Otherwise, we become the superficial scholars or knowers, and that is not knowers are not bhaktas. An inner development of bhakti is necessary. And a devotee never feels he knows everything. Even a few things he may not know. I like Socrates. He said, I did not know anything. I only know that I don't know. This much I know. I like that. Even Newton, he said, I found a few colored stones on the shore, while before me lies the whole ocean of truth. So he distinguished between knowing and truth. Truth is not to be known, it's to be lived. That is the truth. The truth is a living thing. It's Krishna. We are part and parcel of that. It's to be surrendered to. And difficult for a conditioned thinking to understand these things, but this is what our Siddhanta is telling us as far as I'm understanding it. Number 6, by writing many books, by multifarious methods recognized by the pure devotees, you have demonstrated the preaching of pure devotional service unto the Supreme Lord for the benefit of the whole world. We have heard of similar achievements in previous times by stalwart scholars such as Sri Ramanuja and many other acharyas, but the glory of you, the very embodiment of the nectar of divine love, does not end or cannot be confined here. So again, there's a difference, you see, Sridhar Maharaj is making between the scholars and what Bhaktivinoda is giving. I was reading a paper by some very learned person about meditation on Krishna. And so many sources of scriptural sources on that topic. Who's that?
Haryananda.
What's the problem? Anything?
No, I was just translating some things and sending it to text message.
Okay. And so many references to different scriptures. Quite erudite person, actually. Very thoroughly doing so much, must have done so much homework to study all those things and to write them down very nicely. But I noticed there was nothing, not so much about Gurudev or the importance of Guru in his writings. And apparently he did not reference any Guru on his own part that has he trained under or learned or was instructed by or guided by. I don't know how he got all this knowledge or what interest he might have had to produce that type of exposition. But there was one thing I noticed in the writing. Mahaprabhu taught us Chanadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sahisnuna. One must be humbler than the grass, humbler than the straw in the street. Not even the grass. Grass stands up. The straw in the street is a dead grass. And he said, so you must be humbler than that straw, huh? I see, I interpreted like that. The straw laying down. Humbler than that. And more tolerant than the tree, so forth and so on. Not seeking any honor and giving honor. This kind of idea, this kind of what you call framework, this kind of basis for one's life or one's thinking, this kind of qualification was what Mahaprabhu taught. You want to start from somewhere, start from this. Don't start from the position that I know and I can study so many things and I have so much good ideas about wonderful and high things. And he didn't start like that. He said, start like this, that I am lower than the straw on the street. When Krishnadas Kaviraj was giving so many wonderful stories and ideas and thoughts about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's character. Chaitanya Charitamrita is a character of Mahaprabhu. Characteristic teachings, pastimes, and everything. Associates. When he was giving all these things, what did he say of himself? I am lower than the worm and stool. He was talking all these high things, and yet thinking of himself in such a way, taking the lowest position. And Mahaprabhu taught the same. And yet, this kind of idea never came across in that man's writings of the pastimes and thoughts about Krishna and Prem and all these things that he was talking about so highly. He never mentioned anything like that. It's humility. So here's a problem, you see. Here's a defect that we, by the grace of Guru, we can try to understand, or we have some understanding of. That the proper way of approach is to start from an infinitesimal view. That's a realistic view of who we are. Anyone, they have this wonderful power of knowing, wonderful power of consciousness. And we become overwhelmed by that. Despite we are infinitesimal, still we can know so many things. So we think ourselves great by our knowing ability. And by how much we know, we think ourselves great. But that is the wrong idea. That is based upon misunderstanding. What was that? Oh, understanding. Vishwabarb. The misunderstanding. We take the high position. We think ourselves starting from some high position. I know I have this power to know I have consciousness. I can tell you so many things. But that is not where Mahaprabhu told us to start. Trinadapi Sunichena, lower than the blade of grass. Krishnadas cover is lower than a worm in stool. Without understanding reality, the reality of who we are and what we are, there's no question of knowing anything more, knowing anything properly, or even knowing much at all. Only thing we know is we are servants of Krishna. The essence of Mahaprabhu's teachings is very simple. What is that?
Jivarisvarapoi.
Huh?
Jivarisvarapoi Krishnara
Krishnara Nityadas. This much we can know. Krishnara Nityadas. This is his teaching. He didn't present himself as a great scholar, although he was, and he spoke many high things, the highest things. But he went before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and the Mayavadis, and he took a very humble position, sitting near the shoes, not in the direct company of the great learned men, but near the shoes of the great learned men. And they had to ask him, Mahaprabhu, come over here. Your shining face is showing so much enlightenment. You are obviously a great saint. You please come sit here with us. And what did Mahaprabhu do? He didn't start preaching about everything that he knew, although he was God himself. He didn't start like that. He started by listening. And then only when Sarvabhauma asked him, you're just sitting here listening, not saying anything. Are you really understanding anything I'm saying? Mahaprabhu said, yes, I understood everything you're saying, but you're bewildering me. All these fancy things you are saying, it's bewildering me. I have understood Vedanta in a very simple way. My understanding. And not so flowery, elaborate as yours. A very simple way, direct way. I've understood Vedanta, Bhagavatam. And in that way, Sarvabhauma was also, their carpet was ripped out from under Sarvabhauma's feet and his grandiose knowledge. And he could realize that what Mahaprabhu was saying was the proper thing, was the truth. And he had been bedazzled and befooled by the flowery words and interpretations of the scriptures that he had learned. So this We must understand properly, huh? And that is what Guru, he can teach this. He teaches us this. And it's necessary, and not some thing, yes, I have Guru, and I learned this, that, and the other thing, finished. No. It's an essential part of our realization, always, even to the highest plane. And without that, we will lose everything, lose the proper conception, because it requires a proper framework. Whatever we know requires a proper framework of knowing. We can't think that I am a great knower or I'm a great anything. And that by hearing from Guru, I can also become even greater knower. No, that is not the idea. Idea of Guru is that I am not the great knower. My knowing is only a certainty of things. But the truth doesn't require knowing, it requires surrender to. Only surrender. You don't have to invent the truth. You don't have to even discover it. You just have to surrender to it. That is real understanding of what truth means, of what Krishna is. So text number 7 now, and this prayer of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Merely the effulgence of his divine abode has been designated by the title Brahman in the Vedas, and only the expansion of his expansion is sought after great tribulation by the foremost yogis. Expansion of his expansion, of course, is the super soul, Paramatma. The expansion of the first, Krishna expands as Baladev, and then an expansion from Baladev comes from there. So that produces the Vaikuntha, so forth, the Narayan forms. So that Narayan is an expansion of an expansion. Only the expansion of his expansion is sought after with great tribulation, with great difficulty, by the foremost yogis. Yet the most exalted of the liberated souls shine resplendent as the bumblebees at his lotus feet. The primeval origin of even the original Narayan was the Lord of the spiritual sky above Brahman. He is the original Supreme Lord, the personification of all nectarian mellows, Sri Krishna. And he is the one that you give. Telling Bhakti Vinod, this is the one you are giving. You are not giving the expansion of the expansion. You are not giving Paramatma. You're giving Krishna. Now that we have to appreciate what he's saying here. The real Krishna is being given by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And that's only possible to understand if we recognize what he is, what he has done, what his background is. And that comes from hearing from Gurudev, because Gurudev is not an ordinary person. He's not a scholar of the Vedanta or Vedas. They're not Gurudev. People go to Gurudev and they ask, I want to learn, become educated in Vedanta. And they think by accumulating knowledge, they have become Vedantists, or great Vaishnavas, or whatever. spiritualists. No, that is not the idea of Gurudev. That is not the idea of disciple. And not by asking questions. Krishna says, Paripratena, what is that? Tadvidi Paripatena, Pariprasnena Sevaya. You notice he says Pariprasna Sevaya. He doesn't say Pariprasna. Prasna means questioning. It's Pariprasna Sevaya. Prasna and Sevaya go together. Paripatena first means humble, and then prasna, then questioning, and then seva. But they're not one after the other like that. They must be together. Prasna and seva must be together. Otherwise, there's no question of proper understanding of things. It doesn't come from knowing. Truth does not come from knowing. Truth comes from surrendering. Then we can live in the truth. Then we are living in the truth. Because what is the truth? The truth is Krishna Nityadas. We are servants of Krishna, that's all. You can't realize that unless you are that. We are that already, but we don't realize it. We're not conscious of it because we're trying so many other things, trying to be so many other things to avoid that. Gauranga. If we just take the instructions of Gurudev sincerely and not try to twist them and turn them around, and sincerely and simply and purely give our hearts to the teachings of Gurudev, to the words of Gurudev, and we can reach that highest platform. We don't even have to do anything else. We're already there. But there must be that genuine submission and surrender. This is the message that we are being given. This is the necessity why we must approach Guru and not to try to do everything on your own. That will not get you anywhere. And you will be missing the whole point. Gauranga.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Beautiful explanation. Disloka Trinadya Peace Unityana.
Yes.
Srila Govinda Maharaj all days. Trinadya Peace Unityana.
Yes. Always mention this.
Yes.
Thank you, Ananda Krishna Prabhu. All right, text number now the 8th verse. Situated in the topmost region of the absolutely inconceivable spiritual sky is the holy abode of Sri Vrindavan Dham and the spiritual planet known as Goloka. So here the first point is inconceivable. What are you going to conceive? You're trying to conceive the inconceivable? Then how is that foolishness? A misunderstanding what is the inconceivable if you think you can conceive of it. Means conceive means to hold in your hand, to grasp in your hand what is infinite, inconceivable. Then don't try to conceive that inconceivable, because otherwise you don't understanding what the word is saying. When somebody's telling you it's inconceivable, and you say, "Well, I want to conceive it." Nah, You can't go by that process. What's inconceivable, you have to give up trying to conceive. You have to accept. Then, there, surrounded by Shakis, Srimati Radhika revels in the mellows of divine pastimes. With great ecstasy, she expands the joy of loving sweetness in the service of Sri Krishna Chandra, who is otherwise served in 4 relationships up to parenthood. You, O Thakur Bhaktivinoda, can give us the service of that holy Dham. You, Bhaktivinoda, can give us the service of that holy abode. Bhakti doesn't come of its own accord, just coming like that. Prabhupada gave us the order to teach that life comes from life. And the scientists think life comes from matter. All of a sudden, from what is not living, you get living. No, this is the wrong conception. Life doesn't just appear like that from nothing. Life comes from life. The same way, bhakti doesn't come from practicing non-devotional practices. I can't come like that. Something devoid of bhakti cannot produce bhakti. Bhakti comes from bhakti. The truest bhakti comes from that which has been developed, as I'm explaining, as a process of development, of cultivation, of nurturing. We have to cultivate that, and that has to be cultivated in us. And that comes through the Guru, who has already went through that process, who has already cultivated that process. Not that he's just some knower of so many things. It's an offense to see Guru like that, like an ordinary person, and not recognize his background, what has gone into making him who he is, the qualifications.
Srila Shanta Maharaj.
Huh?
Srila Shanta Maharaj was all completely absorbed in service to every.
I'll have to be absorbed, at least in the process. We have to recognize the importance of the process and not the product, not the result. It's a process. And we have to be absorbed in that, and we have to understand that process and be part of that process. Otherwise, to be concerned only with the result, with the end point, and leave the process behind, no, that's foolishness. You won't get there. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what the Gurudev is teaching. Sridhar's book, you know that book? Search for Sri Krishna. You ever seen that book? Search for Sri Krishna. Reality the Beautiful. He emphasized that we're searchers. We're not reachers. We haven't reached that point. We're searching to that point. Searching is a process. That is bhakti. That is devotion. That is dedication. Searching. And by the grace of Krishna, by his kindness, by his mercy, has to come from up to down. Not that we can go from down to up, from our approach up to the higher thing. Highest thing has to come down. And by our searching, by our endeavor, by our earnestness, by our sincerity, Krishna may know his grace upon us. He doesn't have to. And bring us to his plane of reality. So here, Bhaktivinoda is acknowledging Sri Radhika. Who is Sri Radhika? That she who is relishing or reveling in the mellows of divine pastimes. Who is relishing? Huh? Reveling, reveal. Not reveal. Reveling means something else. Was reveling in the mellows of divine pastimes. Who is that? That is Radha. And who does that mean, Radha? It means the devotees. Devotees are reveling in the mellows of devotion. That is Radharani's significance. And her energy is distributed to the devotees. Her reveling is distributed being exhibited in the lives of the devotees of that plane. Here's the universal reveling of devotional mellows, the highest, the supreme. And that is distributed among the infinitesimal living entities that are part and parcel of the Lord and that platform. So her relishing is distributed in the relishing of every individual there. With great ecstasy, she expands the joy of loving sweetness. And here's a very interesting, he makes the interesting comment that Radharani, what she is expanding, what she is manifesting in so many different ways, so many different forms of service, is the embodiment of these four mellows of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya. They all find their ultimate shelter, their ultimate source within Srimati Radharani. And they are, in that sense, different degrees, manifestation of the different degrees of the devotion that she is representing, that she embodies, is all coming, they're all coming from that, from the Madhurya, from the different degrees of intensity. So it is Bhaktivinoda who is giving us these things, giving us these ideas in his writings. And Guru Maharaj is acknowledging that. And he's also telling to his own Gurudev that, yes, Gurudev, I've understood you are teaching these things. And in this way, trying to please his Gurudev that his teachings have not gone in vain. At least they have fallen on some kind of meager understanding within my own heart. That way, Srila Sridhar is trying to serve his Gurudev, not to try to demonstrate how much he knows, but to demonstrate how much he has appreciated and received the message that his Gurudev has given. Gauranga. All right. Oh. Okay. Takes time, huh? To explain these things very nicely, very carefully. You are all very kind to listen to my poor explanation of these very high things. And your grace, right, to give you some opportunity to serve in a very humble way. And to remember, Dandavat Prabhus, please be well, be happy in service, be safe. My love to you all. Hare Krishna.
Tengan mi amor, cuídense. Hare Krishna, todo. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Haribol.
Srila Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Bye.